Good evening and welcome to Michael Pepper Tech Behind the Minds, MPT Behind the Minds. As we roll into the end of the year, the second half of this year into tech season, and we explore tech and we have conversations and we get to know each other more and more through this live stream. I hope that you all enjoy what's about to come in, what's about to happen. And I have a special guest set to join us here in a bit. And hopefully, everything goes smooth tonight. So, behind the minds, what is behind the minds? When I sit down and I watch a YouTube video and I think about the product or the service or whatever that person is discussing, I think of, is that person using a product in the way that I would? Is that person having the lifestyle like I would? Is that person going to portray the service, the product in a way that benefits me and something that can be helpful? And so the one aspect is, do we really know the creator? Do we have a false trust in creators? How do we know if we can trust them? How do we know if their personality matches that? We can only see what's on there. And so we sit down and we get to know our fellow content creator and we get to explore it and have fun with it, and we get to see what is going on, and we get to enjoy this aspect of content creation. And so that's what I want to do tonight. As soon as everything gets going smooth here. Barry, just so you know, I accidentally put you in the wrong back stage. So tonight's a little messed up already. I scheduled it and I didn't realize when I clicked in it didn't go into the scheduled one. My bad, people. Back in the day, I had a series that was called Creator Interviews, and the idea was you sit down and you get to know your fellow content creator, whether you are a content creator as well, a viewer. You get to meet new people. You get to understand where they come from and develop that connection. Because in life, whether it's in business, which, if you're a content creator, you're a business, your customers are your viewers. The greatest pitch is the connection, the bond that you make with that person, the understanding. If you're selling popcorn, maybe there's a flavor that brings them back to their childhood, their nostalgia. If you're selling a vehicle, maybe it's the vehicle that person's granddad had. Maybe it's the person that raised them had that vehicle. Who knows? So getting to know our fellow content creator is important to me, and getting to understand how they got into the particular aspect or what their particular niche is and develop that connection benefits those creators as well. We have people that have been doing this for years, and we have people that are just starting out. And so I believe that no matter what, anyone can benefit from a conversation where we pair the viewer with background for those people. And so that is where MPT Behind the Minds takes a journey and heads. And so that is what this is all about. I am planning on turning this into a podcast as well, so uploaded audio version across all the things. I got to get that set up. And so let's welcome some people in the chat here. Holla at your boy, Raymond Williams, Tech Lovin' Mama, Miles Tech, Barry Johnson, El Jefe, Baron Burton, Raider Tech, Tech for Your Needs, Jay Williams. They have all been people who have motivated me, who have been a part of this conversation, who are the ones that we look to, that we trust, that we sit down and we talk about tech, and they all have their own personalities and perspectives on things. And I think that that is a great conversation to be had, and an aspect that we don't necessarily see in tech all the time. And so I hope that you guys enjoy this, and this is something that you find inspiring, and that's what I got to say about that. A little bit of background behind me is technology has been a way that kind of has bonded me with other people. I have always kind of felt out of place in other aspects of things, and so technology has always been something that I've connected with cousins. I've connected and made new friends. It's something that, in-laws might not have the same perspective on certain things, but they have a problem with their phone, or they want to know how to record their own content, or make their own TikToks, or do their own things. And this is something that bonds us all, and something that connects us all, no matter what our intellect structure, our analytical mind, fun mind, funny minds, goofy minds. This is something that we can all relate with. And so getting behind the minds of each of us, and behind what separates us, and creating a unity with the conversation is what I am hoping this really does. And I did send Barry Johnson a new link. Hopefully that one works. I think I sent him the new one. Let me double check. That would be embarrassing. I hate technology sometimes is something that, there we go. So without further ado, let's continue this journey and get behind the mind of one of the most supportive people in content creation in the tech space, and somebody who you don't want to mess with, who will put the hammer, the wrench down on you, and somebody who knows what he's talking about, somebody we all know and trust and is part of our tech family, the one and only Barry Johnson.
Hey, well, thank you, Michael. Thanks for
Hey.
having me.
I don't know what happened there with that.
Yeah, that was a trip.
I was like, uh-oh.
That was a trip. But hey, can I say, because you called them out, like I want to say, I don't know if Jay is still around, but I believe in giving flowers to people that have really helped me, and they keep me on the straight and narrow. So, like, to give you an example, like if LB posts something, or vice versa, it's usually a conversation during the day. Like we're talking about stuff that we should be doing, easy, and just like how to manage all this stuff, like what our responsibilities are. Jay Williams, El Jefe, like El Jefe will hit me up and like tell me what's critically wrong with a video, and it's not sugarcoating anything, and he doesn't have to do that. That's just something that he does. It's like, this is what you need to do. Hey, did you check your analytics for that? Where was the dip? And that's, so a lot of stuff that I do, I think is reciprocated 4 times fold to me. So I'm good. So I just wanted to recognize them, and LaShawn as well. So they're just been critically important to what I do.
I agree. It's been the similar circumstances. Might not be the same people, but there's
Yeah,
people that they always have your back, and they'll be like,
correct.
"Hey, man, what's going on?" Or like,
Yeah.
"Why haven't you been live streaming the last couple of weeks?" I
Or
had people ask me
yeah,
that, and I was
yeah,
like, "Well, this is what's going on," and they're like, "Oh,
yeah.
okay." And then like, I feel like there is some aspect of like people feel like they can do it on their own, and yeah, you don't
And I'm cool with people
you
that feel
don't
that way.
need,
I'm
but
just
at the
saying, like,
same time, it's like, who holds you responsible? Like,
correct.
who says to you, like, hey, where have you been? And like shows concern, and is kind of sitting there and being
Hmm.
like, can I help you? Is there anything I can do? Can I edit? Sometimes it's can I edit videos for you? I've had people ask me that before, and I was like, nope.
Mhm.
You won't be able to get
Yeah,
my style's pretty simple,
and
but
I
you
know
won't be
that's
able
the
to do
thing.
it. Like that's
LaShawn and I talk about that all the time. It's like he's like, even if we were overnight a million subs, right? It would be tough to give that to someone else because that's your style, and everybody might not like my style per se, but it's a style that I'm comfortable with, right? And then if I give it to someone else, just the way you edit can change it. So yeah.
I've had somebody ask me before that, like, hey, will you edit a video for me? And I did it, and they're like, this is better than I expect. Like, you matched my. I'm like, yeah, that's what. Like,
Well,
the positive side of me being ADHD and spectrum side is I'm hyper focused when I am focused. I don't know. There's lots of people that are in the tech space that have become. I think ADHD is a super common thing amongst a bunch of us, right? And we become hyper focused on something when we really enjoy it, and so. That's what happens though, is like you're doing that comparative back-to-back thing, and it's like everything down to like the transitions are there but not noticeable. And
yeah, so like to give you an example, like everything is different, right? So I there are some big creators that I don't advertise, I won't mention who they are, right? But that we're pretty close, right? So they've got YouTube plaques and all that stuff. So one of them had hit me up. Actually, I hit them up when I saw one of their posts, and I was like, hey man, the person that you need is Scoop or Juan. Those are the two that would do this narration. And the person, and I was upfront with them, just like they're upfront with me, even though they're huge. And they're like, oh well, I want them to write it and then I narrate it. I'm like, it's not gonna work. So I'm like, forget I even mentioned their names. And I even hit up Scoop and I hit up Juan. I told them what was the situation, and they agreed. They're like, no, it's not going to work. That would sound weird. Like I'm writing it and it's in his voice. No, it needs to be my voice. You asked for a narrator. So it's just little things like that. Having that trust where you can go to people, and they feel comfortable with you, has been invaluable for me.
I mean, the saying of it's like 93% of all communication is nonverbal.
Correct.
That means like 13 out of 14 cues that you're giving off basically are nonverbal. And so that doesn't even include, like, I guess the idea of like the nonverbal thing of there's other ways that words can come into play, but so you can't tell somebody like, hey, this is like my social cue, or this is my way of enunciating.
Correct.
Or even like when you hear me stop, or I do the little things, or I have the pauses in my voice. For example, these are all things that impressionists do to sound like other people.
Yeah.
The good old hesitation in the voice sort of thing like that is something that President Obama often did.
Absolutely.
Like I can do the true hiccups, but he would do.
Oh yeah.
And it's all about personality, and some signs of that is like they're thinking and they don't ever prescript things. And so like I like to see that. And that's just the way I am, but at the same time, like if somebody scripts, I can't do it because I end up
not everybody can do it.
I tried it one time and I missed like 3 important things in the video and regretted it, but I didn't want to reshoot it because it was like I got all the good stuff in, and there was like there were some natural aspects to it as well, and I didn't want to, and so that's the thing, and like, and so but one of the things I wanted to kind of go into this with is most people, if not everybody watching this, probably knows who you are, but if not, I want to start off and say, when I first, I guess, met you or ran across you, you were in everybody's chat.
Yes.
Everybody has you in moderator, and everybody, that blue and that wrench, and your logo there, or actually, I don't even know if your logo was there. I just know your name has always been.
Yeah.
And then you started showing up, in people's live streams,
Hmm.
and people inviting you on, and you're that point in the middle where, like, if somebody's acting a fool, you're gonna call them out, and
Well, the bottom
you're
line,
that balanced
the thing, yeah,
thing.
the thing that I have zero tolerance. So, unfortunately, lately it's just been, it's kind of work stuff that's going on. So I'm not able to make it to T streams like I used to. But when I became moderator for some of the bigger content creators, like relative to ourselves, like El Jefe and T, there was a lot of nonsense that was going on. And the bottom line is the way it might not seem, I know El Jefe gets it, but not everybody gets it, right? El Jefe knows I'm on the same page. It's all about El Jefe. El Jefe is providing a service, like whether we want to admit it or not. He's doing a lot of things that we don't have to do. He's doing the legwork. And the thing that he deserves is the right to engage his audience without someone messing with it. Right. So I have a zero tolerance approach, and it kind of irritates me when I see people are on the fringe doing certain things. So that's when I have to lay the smack down. But the reason I became a mod, I was in everybody's chat, but one thing that I won't say who the creators were, but there are some creators that people know. They're not in the chat, but people know pretty well that I was mod for them, and they would hit me up like, "Hey, how do you do this in OBS? How do you do this in this thing? Oh, I'm having trouble with StreamYard." So we get behind stage, and so this is before I ever appeared. I was actually working with them, helping them with their respective channels and stuff like that. So, and it was just because, it might be something like, hey, what, I'm not really sure how the CPU works on this phone, right? To kind of articulate it. And so I might tell them, so, and just me saying that, Juan was not one of those people because he knows what he's talking about.
And Juan might be hiding in the background. I wouldn't be surprised.
But the bottom line, he knows his stuff. So
Yeah, that's the other thing that's fascinating to me, right? Is like, so when we start off and we're doing our thing, like I literally I've been watching YouTube since like it started. I
mhm.
remember the transition of like YouTube originally, like most people don't realize YouTube originally was a dating site.
Oh
Um,
yeah, yeah.
and then, but I just remember like the early days of like I remember the days of where like it was Kevin the Tech Ninja
Mhm.
and like iJustine and like a few other people that were really the only people in tech space. And you had like CNET, ZDNet, and like those, right, that were
Mhm.
there.
Mhm.
And then like I like Linus Tech Tips wasn't even around. MKBHD, rolled in when he was pretty young, but like
Correct.
that's the thing. I remember those days, and so like I've been around for a long time,
Hmm.
and um, to me, the cool aspect of our journeys as like people that have come from that and have been watching and involved in the space as viewers, and obviously there, I don't think there'd be anybody that's a content creator that wasn't a viewer first.
Correct.
But some people have lost that, and so it's cool to see like the approach of uh of people who still bring the viewership aspect into their
Hmm.
content
Hmm.
creation, and that's kind
Yeah.
of what I'm hoping to do, with this podcast and with this
Yeah.
structure
Yeah.
and with
Ooh.
is just that conversation of like, because I I'm not I'm not trying to throw anybody under their bus, but like one of the things I've noticed sometimes with is like there can be a very structured way of like every guest that's on get the same question, or it's too relaxed,
Correct. Correct. And then
and
it loses the focus.
or there's like no benefit to like if I was to sit down and say I want to invite such and such on, if I don't have that rapport, that build up, that reputation, that relationship with people to begin with, there's no way they're going to be like, well, is this guy going to make a fool out of me?
Hmm.
What's the benefit out of it? Because there's always, some people do it one way or another. They don't want anything out of it. But I don't want to do that for anybody either. The goal, like I said, the goal with this, and for you, is like, if somebody's like, Barry Johnson, who is that? They can click on this and be like, okay, that's that's where he got his knowledge.
Hmm.
That's why he. So I want to go into that a little bit if you
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
mind.
definitely. Yeah, absolutely.
Obviously, I avoid things that are too personal because we know and people getting doxxed and all that stuff. But
Yeah, true.
so the first thing I'm curious about a little bit, and obviously these are things. Some of these are things I know, but we know how that works.
Yeah, yeah.
Is what you do. Obviously, there's things you can't say, but what you do in your day to day, like 9 to 5 life,
Yeah, I
aspect
can
of
say,
things.
yeah. So I'm called so it's had different names over the years. So it was formerly an applications engineer, but I'm called a solutions engineer because we really application implies that like I do one specific thing, but we actually create solutions for customers. So on a day to day basis, like today, I went to Lockheed Martin. I went to Mtron PTI. They make crystal oscillators, and of course, Lockheed does fighter jets and missiles and all types of stuff, right? So we do stuff that tested, right? So that's the reason why, like when someone might say, "Oh, well, the Google Pixel doesn't have that good of a modem, or the Samsung doesn't have that good of a modem, or the iPhone doesn't have that good of a modem." I'm like, we tested. We know that that's not the case. So there's stuff that we do, like our company that tests all aspects of the phone. We actually even bought, because normally we test all the RF, all the networking, emulating the network and all that stuff with the phones, and we put them through rigorous testing. So we know they're solid. Google knows they're solid. Apple knows they're solid, and everything. And then the unfortunate thing is the network might have issues, right? So depends on how your phone can recover in the real world. It may cause an issue. So like tomorrow, I'm going to BK Technologies. They test uh, um, public safety radios. So that's what I do. So it's all deep dive technical engineering. So, but when I come to these programs, obviously I can't lead with that, right? So Juan has his lane. My goal eventually is to be like the Gerald Undone, version where I get really deep, but try to keep it fun. And I know that takes time because I have to build up trust with the audience that if you watch my videos, you'll see that I'm slowly getting more and more technical, but I'm trying to make it entertaining where people are like, what is he doing? It's like, hey man, I'm just trying to have a good time here, So, and me, I try to educate. That's my thing. By the time you finish this video, you'll know which camera is better, even if I'm not saying buy this camera, right? So,
Well, you have a bit of a coaching background too, I do believe, right?
correct. Yeah.
So obviously that's a natural instinct. You're teaching the
Hmm.
kids or whatever. You're teaching, and you got to teach by representation, so people
Correct.
emulate that. So when you're doing your photography stuff, people can be like, okay, this is the mode he was in because he said, okay, I was shooting in pro mode or dark, or
Mm,
and you can't give his exact settings because they're not going to be in your backyard. Like you can't be like, I was using pro
correct.
mode
Oh,
this and that because,
and then they're
or
like, "Oh, this is terrible." Yeah, this is terrible. Like I got bad pictures. But yeah. So I had a coaching background. I coached. Actually, I started with my daughters. They actually had a trainer for tennis, and he wanted me to start doing team tennis. And then when my son started playing basketball, my wife kind of encouraged me to start coaching him like when he was very young. And then we started a team, and then all the way through high school, right? So, yep.
so for people who don't know, you're sitting there and you're in the black lab.
Hmm.
You're you got it. You got your top down going on
Correct.
sometimes, and
Hmm.
and you got your front view, and
Hmm.
you
Hmm.
got your lighting, and you got your
Hmm.
microphone, and you got all this going on, and but when I think about the way that you do things, and I think about like you are very like bam 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 bam, and the way that you structure things, I like it. Like there's not an interference of
Hmm.
flow.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, for example, I've seen some people that do camera stuff, and they'll be talking about here's night mode, and then they give examples. Here day mode, and then they give examples. Here's portrait, and then they give examples.
Hmm.
You kind of do your discussion, then you're like, here's some examples, bam, 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 and then you'll come back in with like a wrap up. I
Yeah.
like that conclusion. Is that like
Well,
something that
so
somebody
yeah.
told you, or you just kind of?
So what happened is I think I stumbled on it, but one of the things that happens whenever I deviate from it, I get a message from Tech Valor or uh, El Jefe. So like I remember one time like I was doing bam 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 and El Jefe hit me and goes, "Man, you got mad quiet for like 30 seconds. What was that all about?" And I was like, "Oh man, that's right. Oh yeah." So, and the same thing with I think it was the other day, like I had interrupted my flow when I was vibing and Tech Valor caught that I was talking to myself. Like I was like thinking of something to say and she's like, that interrupted the flow. And I was like, okay. So once I stumbled upon it, I think other people kind of noticed it and it's like, hey, this is your style. Keep going. All right.
Yeah, and the thing with that too that I noticed is that, and you probably would notice this too, is if you did that, you might have somebody that hits the initial part and they're like, I'm out.
Oh yeah.
Like when you
Oh,
show your first
absolutely. That
photo,
was the
they're
first.
like, oh, this
That
guy
was the
must be done.
first.
I'm
That
out.
was the first thing that El Jefe hit me with. He goes. Check your analytics because if he goes, I'm hoping what they did was fast forward, so you should see a spike on the way up. So luckily, that's what happened. People just fast forwarded through that part. And I'm like, man, I don't know what I was thinking. He's like, hey, just don't do it again. So
What um what got you into being interested in the photography aspect of?
it's funny. It's so I really wasn't that interested. So it's funny because I was talking to Juan earlier this year, and I really thought I was going to go gaming aspect. So I thought Pixel had great hardware, but they didn't have a pro mode, and I kind of really was into that. And once I got the Vivo, that kind of really changed. It was over. It was all she wrote. It was like one of those things where I felt like with the Vivo X80, and I feel the same with the Xiaomi. And I think the rumors of what's going to happen with the Pixel as well, I'll be able to do the same with that. I feel like I don't really necessarily need to carry a mirrorless to be that person that takes photos. And that's totally opened up everything for me now. Like, so I'm literally see something, I've got my Xiaomi or my Vivo with me. I was like, man, I can take a photo of that, and Juan had said it the other day, and I felt the same way. It's like when an update comes, I'm like, maybe I'll reshoot some of this before I do my next video. So I think it's really, I might not be a person that was traditionally into photography, but I think the advancements in the technology have pulled me that way.
It's the aspect of what differentiates, like if you were to look at two phones and they all have 120 hertz display and they all
Mhm.
have like a 6.7-inch display and they
Right.
all have the Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1 and they all have,
Hmm.
12 gigs of memory, and like on paper they're all identical.
They're all
But
identical.
like one's a Vivo,
Yep.
one's a Xiaomi, one might be a Huawei,
Hmm.
and then you could have like a Samsung
Correct.
phone in there, and maybe and then you might even and then on the other side you might have like cameras that are all like the sensors are all being the same, like
Correct.
Motorola using the same
Yeah.
sensor as like the Pixels were using,
Hmm.
and like OnePlus doing some of that. But they're all but the one thing that really differentiates is that camera aspect between the software and the hardware,
Yeah.
and it's something you can talk about that really um apart with everything else. Yeah, you can talk about operating system, and you can talk about like how Samsung has the Edge panel and they have like these
Correct.
unique
Yeah, they
features
all
and
have
DeX and
different
all that
things
stuff.
that people may gravitate towards, but you're right. When you go into the camera app, the actual app, the way they process the photo, some of the other things that they have, like some of the other tools, it's really kind of changing my perception of the smartphone camera.
The the focus that they have, no pun intended, on the way that they use like the different neural cores. Like,
Hmm.
you know, Apple has their neural engine, and then Google has their they call them like the imaging cores, I think is what
Hmm.
they
Yep.
refer to them as.
Correct.
And then of course they have, you know, their 20 GPU cores for things,
Hmm.
which I think those are used hand in hand with the imaging cores for processing, and so make that faster,
Hmm.
smoother. You know, to make it so you can sit there and you have to go through quite a few times of hitting like back. Like I've noticed you can sit there and be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, wait like 2 seconds, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like
Hmm.
you can do that quite a bit, and it takes a good chunk before you start
Yeah.
to, and they'll be like, nope, we gotta hold off,
We
bro.
got to hold off. It's
We
like you're
like,
processing a lot of stuff, but it's impressive how much you can do, how quickly you can clear the sensors. But yeah, I like I said, I thought I was gonna just be really into the gaming stuff this year, and it's kind of changed. So yeah,
that's
that's
one
where I'm at.
thing. Even with like the X Fold, right? And you know
Hmm.
they're not using the V1
Yeah, the
chip
chip.
or like the V1 Pro or anything, but like you take that and it's got the same, you got the same hardware in there that you're using like in like as far as processor that like Samsung uses, right?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
then you have like the same processor in like I'm talking about, you know, obviously like in the Fold and some of the stuff. They
Hmm.
have like the same, but for some reason whatever they're doing when I open that up and I'm in that split view where, you know, it has the main camera on the right and on the left, it's like your roll after things are processed, hitting that and it's just like instant, instant,
Yeah, the
instant,
thing
instant
is,
is
that's the
crazy
thing
to
that
me.
I think
Even in
we.
like night mode images, how fast it is.
So that's one thing that I can't, like, on streams I can't articulate. I can't do in videos because I'll lose people. But that's some of the differences. That's some of the trade-offs, right? So like today I was working with an R&D engineer, and she had designed. I was showing off our new one of our new analyzers. One of the R&D engineers had double booked. He was supposed to be in New York and Florida at the same time. So I said, "Don't worry, Joel. I'll do it for you." So I got the equipment in Monday, forced trained myself, and I saw her, and I asked her. I said, "Hey, so I go, our power supply, once you get to 8 volts, it drops off of 1 amp." And I don't think she understood. I think she thought I said it goes up to 16 volts. So she immediately puts, all right, give it 12 volts and all that stuff. And you could see her crystal oscillator would ramp and then it would drop, ramp and then it would drop. And I'm not getting the results of the competitor's unit. And I'm like, wait a second, do you have a different power supply? Because I'm like, are you sure this? So I hooked it up to a different power supply, and we're matching the competitor. But it's little things like that like I know are the differences between phones. So all the way they're making compromises, and I know Qualcomm has had talks with Samsung engineers, and it's always Samsung coming back saying we're not going to make these phones smaller because the reference design calls. I mean, have more room to get rid of the heat. The reference design calls for that. Qualcomm is telling them that, and Samsung's like, no. And Xiaomi did the same thing. People don't call them out, but like I said, I told LaShawn at the beginning of the year, I said we cannot buy the Xiaomi 12 series, and here I am with a 12s Ultra because Xiaomi was like, guess what? We're gonna change some stuff. And so that's the thing. There's differences. There's compromises. There's an R&D budget, so everybody has to do that. So like the things I look for, I think people they get irritated because they might think I'm bashing like a phone or something like that, and I'm not. Like I've asked several of the Indian creators that have posted the Z Fold, because the Z Fold looks like it takes better photos than the S22 Ultra. I mean, like all the stuff that I'm seeing, it looks like it has better photos, right?
I
From what
saw
I'm
that.
seeing.
Did you see that the 2 by 2 the 4 photos of the,
Correct.
and I
Yeah.
was like, wait a minute, that's
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
like that makes me be like, okay, I'm okay to give up my S22
Cor-
Ultra if I can get
correct.
that
Oh
out of
yeah, you
that
can
thing.
definitely
Like
do it.
I don't
So
need the crazy like
thank you.
100 zoom. I like,
No, you
and
don't
even
need that
the
because if
30
you think
zoom
about it,
stuff is crazy
it's
insane on that.
it's insane, but can you use it at nighttime? So Samsung still needs to do an update, right? So they need to improve it for next year, right? So it's great during the daytime, but I'm like, If it was daytime and nighttime, then I would have an argument. But to me, the cameras look better on the folds from what I'm seeing. And when I look at some of these people's battery results, they'll say stuff like, you're bashing it, screen on time. And I never say screen on time. I'm looking at the totality. Like, to give you an example, I saw um, two guys from India that are getting twice as much screen on time that they're posting, and they're getting like double the screen off time. And I hit them up. I go, can you explain how you're getting this? Like you're posting this, and this is different than everybody else. Are you in the light performance profile? Um, and I asked them, like, how are you using it? Like, I see the apps you're using. Like, are you, because one of them followed up and said, and what's cool is you can unfold this thing. And I'm like, dude, are you testing this? No one cares if it's folded together. That's not the reason why we got it. So I'm like, can you explain how you're getting double of what everybody else? And then, like, I'll look at some people that that we all know, and they'll post their results, and I'm like, okay, I see this. This is what I expect to see. All right. And I see that I can look at your apps, and I can see that you watch a lot of video here. On this one, you were in the camera app. And then your next biggest thing is the ambient display. But what I see is this. I shouldn't see a spike up, sir. And I'm not saying you are lying by any means, but I'm an engineer, dude. I'm looking at those. So I'm supposed to be able to read graphs. And did you put it in power saver mode? Did you switch the performance profile? Why would the battery spike up? You know what I'm saying? So that's the only thing. That's the only thing. And the thing about it, if it was a Xiaomi or something like that, you'd have to be real quick, right? Because you put it on, it will spike up real high because of the fast charging. But slow charging, I see it would do that. So I'm not saying that that's what they're doing. I don't think they're gaming or rigging the system. But I need to know more than you just posting stuff. And then I see this thing and I see it spike up and say, I'm going to crown this as good battery life. I can't do it. That's just not me. That's the engineer in me. I know something is broken there. I haven't seen any other phone. I own Samsung phones. They do like this, just like everybody else. It's a gradual step down. And the only time you see it spike up is if you charge it, So I'm never going to say, yeah, I'm getting 4 hours of screen time, and you see this in my graph. Not going to happen.
It's like, did you accidentally
put it on the charger?
Like,
exactly.
Or like you plugged it into your MacBook to up, because a lot of people use
a lot of people do
their
that
content
Correct.
Creation, right? But the one thing they forget is, like, especially with the new ones, I noticed this even with my M1 MacBook Air that I had, and especially now with my M1 Pro 14 inches, like, if you plug a cable in to connect to transfer stuff over, that M1 Pro will output like quite a bit. Like, you can basically fast charge from so it could potentially be outputting 45 watts to your, or whatever,
Correct.
their max limit is to that thing. And if
Correct.
you don't think about it and you're like, nah, I wasn't charging. But what if you're transferring like gigs of data, like 5-10 minutes?
And that's why I didn't say, you notice how I didn't lead. Like, I trust these reviewers. I just think there's something that happened there, and it wasn't malicious or anything like that. But I'm like, that's the reason why I think we should have a more nuanced conversation about what we expect for battery and how we determine what's battery. Because I'm not determining it like just going screen on time. I'm looking at everything. I'm looking at how you're using it. And there have been a couple of people that have posted results. And I've even hit up privately. I'm like, this result looks to me like dude shot photos or filmed a couple of videos and then sat it down. This one looks like this guy watched YouTube, and the next highest thing is your ambient display. Sounds like you watched YouTube for a couple hours, put the thing down, and then go, hey, guess what, everybody? I got great battery life. That's not it, sir. That's not how I use my phone. That's not how people in this chat use their phone.
And even the thing that gets me is, like, when people will be like, well, I'm getting horrible battery life, and then you'll see them like a couple of weeks later, oh, it's way better. It's like, yeah, because you were doing all your initial like camera testing,
all that
but
stuff.
not even like the background loading, but like you're doing like hours of camera stuff, right? And you're testing all this out, and you're shooting video, and then you're like going to do it and use it in the normal stuff where you're not
Correct.
doing it for the hours and hours, unless that's your job. Like
Yeah.
if you're social media and your thing is like I'm using my phone and I'm recording other people, right? And that's I'm posting, or like I'm out and about and I use my phone to record to post videos to like Amazon or whatever you're doing. But like that's what throws me off. I was like, I don't do any of this stuff until it's way out because I
Way
already
out.
know. I
Because think
already
about it.
know I'm gonna get like I can give initial thoughts. Like I can be like, oh, I already know this is gonna be way better because like right now, like if I get my fold and my flip and I take that out of the box and it's like setting stuff up and I'm seeing that I'm getting great battery life at that point, I know that like
Yeah.
then once it warms up and like or,
Correct.
everything gets out, it's gonna be. But that's the thing to me. Like for example, my flip 3, I can get like 10 plus hours of screen on time if I have it running like I'm in a dark room and it's running at like extremely low brightness and I'm just
Correct.
playing through one video and it's like on my
Yeah.
really good Wi-Fi. But the minute I could have it doing nothing in my pocket and be out and about and be on decent 5G and LTE signal and get home and the thing's at like 27%
Well,
with no
that's
screen
one thing
on
that
time and I
Tay.
didn't
That was
touch
one
it.
thing that Tay mentioned.
And
She said that was one thing that she really appreciated about the Vivo X Fold was it was like the standby time was significantly better than what she was used to. So
I got so if I just let it run without touching it, without like the always on display on, and just took it and sat it, I could go a week of it, and it's still getting
mhm.
the stuff in the background, right? Notifications are coming in the
Yeah.
background. Everything was, and this was actually before the update that's helped with notifications and made things
Correct.
a little bit better. Um, so I haven't tested, but in 5 days, if I left the always on display on, so that tells you a difference. You're getting it's about 28%
Hmm.
that you get from, but that's still pretty good.
It's
And
so
then if
good.
you throw that in your pocket, if I do my normal usage of like, um, I watch a couple hours of YouTube a day. I'll watch TikTok at night to fall asleep. I'm doing my browsing. I'm doing my stuff. I can go a couple days on that thing. And
Yeah.
the thing though, with one thing I noticed is that its representation for screen on time is off because like I did that. I was like, why did it say I only had an hour and a half of screen on time? I know I just watched more than an hour and a half of
Hmm.
YouTube video, but something with what it's doing. And the crazy thing is like I can go a couple days and still have like 30 some 40 some percent on there, and it's crazy to me.
That mirrors Gigi's experience that she tells me
And
that as
I'm
well.
like, but then the thing is, I don't have to. I do things a little bit different, when because it has fast charging,
I know.
I can just throw it on for like 5 minutes
Like I said,
while I'm like helping my son get his shoes on before we're gonna go for a walk, and the
yeah.
thing's back up to like literally. I did that today. I was like, oh, it's at 83%. I'm gonna throw it on. I'm just gonna plug it on the charger for a little bit while like I eat my sandwich, and I look over and pops up the notification full charge. Like that's the thing with me, like. But the fact that it still gets the crazy standby times, right?
Yes,
So you
that's what's
benefit from
excellent.
both. It's like
Benefit
it's
from
like
both.
it's like, for example, people buy an iPhone and they don't necessarily care. Some people don't care that it has the slower charging because they're like, I can go 2-3 days,
Oh,
and so
hey,
I don't care that
exactly. And
it's gonna
and
write.
that I can understand. Like
But
I'm
like,
not as hard on Apple.
Can you imagine though, like if an
Oh,
iPhone
it would be
had
over.
67 or
It'd be
80 watt
over.
charging,
It'd be
you'd
over.
be like, I'm plugging that beast in
Yeah.
once a week for half an hour and
And you're
go
boom.
and
You're
like
done.
Sunday I take it off the charger. Midday Wednesday I throw it on the
Hmm.
charger for half an hour. It charges up and I'm back through like
Correct.
Saturday, and I put it on the charger again for and it's like just, and that's the crazy thing with all this stuff to me and the excitement of technology and like the Galaxy Watch. I wasn't sure if I wanted to because they're using the same processor and some of the things, and I'm not sure about the dial. But I'm seeing it appears that Samsung is going to keep those trade-in deals going. And last year they
Yeah, but
had a pretty good.
I just think
So
you know
I'm
me.
gonna
I'm
wait
very big
until
on battery life.
after the initial reviews, and I get my $200 in credit from my flip, and take that and pay because they'll give me 240 for my Watch 4 Classic,
Hmm.
and then the 200 credits, pay the $60 and upgrade and get that battery bump to the Watch 5
Yep.
Pro, and like that charge stuff is crazy. What's crazy to me though is like they're doing that with that, but why not on their phones? Like why did they kind of roll back on their phone? Like that throws me off. I'm a little,
They might have had a surge, right? And they weren't expecting as many people to uptake, right? So that could be a way to, mitigate, supply and demand. But yeah, I think the Watch Pro is a really good option, especially for people like myself that wasn't happy with the battery life. I think I would be happy with this battery life. So
I'm also hoping to see heat mitigation a little bit better. I had times where I had my on the charger and it would be like
are you talking
it's
about, are you
not
talking about your
charged.
fold? Are you talking about your
No,
fold?
my watch. It would be like I
Oh,
put it
okay.
on the charger and it had like 81% charge, and I'm expecting it to wake up in the morning at 100%, but it actually lost charge and it was down to like 57% because it just was like nope, too
Yeah.
hot and shut off the. I'm hoping they mitigated some of that because I have the dual charger with the fan and everything. So
I think LaShawn is looking for that as well. He was having issues with heat. So yeah.
and
Yeah, I was thinking of the phones. Right now I think their phones, especially with the new One UI updates, I think they're running pretty cool now. So
and I'll
everything
be
is really focused on battery life. So
my question will also be, or my thought will be, so I know that they're using the same, it's like the Exynos, was it 9510 or whatever, like that's
mhm.
what like the W whatever, like their version of it is called. They're not using like the 4100 or the 4100 plus like TicWatch uses.
Yeah.
Um, so in with that, is it a do, do you know is that modem that so it's got the same modem then from last year. So like um if your problem is like I know LaShawn works in a
Oh,
warehouse, so
that's
he
a
had some
good
modem
point. That's
issues.
a good point.
Will it be any better
Yeah, would it be
upgrading
better? Yeah,
or not?
yeah, it just really depends on if if it was a modem problem solely, or was it a modem antenna, you know, issue as well.
Different
So
materials. And
correct.
then the other thing is like because they're packing that 590 milliamp hour battery in there, which is huge. Like if you think about that, that's crazy to me. That's like the what a third of the
Yes,
size of like the an iPhone
I'm
13 mini's
excited.
battery. Like that's
Yeah,
crazy to me.
I'm
Like
excited.
and then they got the faster charging, so somehow they handle cooling, which hopefully
Mhm,
means also usage cooling
mhm.
will be mitigate. And then depending on if it's I mean, he's not using it paired to a phone. He's just using its LTE.
LTE,
But
correct. Yeah,
even
but
one
he was
thing I
getting
notice is
horrible battery life.
sometimes with, and I don't know if you've noticed this, if you pair your watch to a different phone, that sometimes your watch won't heat up as much because of like that more stable Bluetooth connection, and then the phone's got a more stable connection. Because I've noticed that for me, like if it
Mhm.
was paired to my S22 Ultra or my Fold versus the Flip, it would get different. And I mean, the Flip's a whole other story. I'm curious to know with that because I've had some issues where like I can feel heat over the screen when it's doing
Yeah, so
updates.
you
So I'm
should hit up
curious to
LaShawn. I
know like
thought he was getting the same thing. I think he was really yeah, you should hit him up. I think he was getting some issues with that as well. So
I'll
it
be
wasn't just
curious.
battery life. I think he was, he was like it was a hot box.
I'm stoked for you and LaShawn to like know that initial um because I'm gonna wait like 35 days until I get those credits because from the past Samsung with their phones they well this year's been a mess as you've known it's been up and down and all over the place but with their watches they tend to have those deals pretty good and even Best Buy tends to have those deals where the initial trade and stuff they tend to kind of keep those longer and I think it's because
Mhm.
they want people to switch over and they know that like there's some people that have like an Apple Watch and maybe like
Yeah.
they got a Pixel and they're like I wanna
It's sort of like me. I think the Pixel Watch looks pretty decent, but the battery
or
life
they're sick
doesn't seem like
of
it's gonna be that good. So I'll go with the
you know
Galaxy.
they do a lot of running and they're sick of having to or like talking on their with their earbuds on their watch and they're sick of like oh I just killed my Apple Watch because I did like an hour of talking on it
Mhm.
which drained half the battery but then like my normal usage kills it and having to plug the thing in halfway through the day so it'll be interesting to see how that goes with all that um do you, have you heard? Um, I want to go into some things real quick,
Oh
and
yeah,
then
go
we'll
ahead.
wrap it
Yeah,
up with those.
absolutely.
Have you heard the Vivo X Fold S is supposed to be coming out? With the their next. I think that's what they called it, or the Vivo. I think that's what they're calling it. It's like the next version of it, with just supposed to have the 8 Plus Gen 1, and I guess there's supposed to be a slight change in one of the camera sensors. Um,
So I heard a little bit about it. I knew it was going to be 8 plus Gen 1, but I wasn't sure about the camera sensors. That would be, even though I thought the camera sensors were good, but that would be a welcome change.
because they're using, I know it's the same camera sensors that the X70 Pro, um, I do believe
Oh
was
yeah,
similar,
correct.
and
Yeah.
so they're saying that it might be going more not the 80 Pro, but like was it the X70 Pro Plus had a slight change, and there's
I think
discussion
it's
of
smart. I think it's smart. The Galaxy Fold looks like it takes good photos, so that brings them back to the conversation, right? Right? Because that was one of the things that people complained about. They were like, so that brings them back in the conversation. If they can come with better cameras and also A plus Gen 1, even though I don't think they really have an issue, but in the minds of the consumer, a lot of the overseas consumer are a little more savvy than we are over here as far as so they might go, oh, well, that's got the 8 plus Gen 1. Well, now we both got the 8 plus Gen 1. So
and then I
I think
think
faster charging too, right?
yeah,
Okay.
I
Hmm.
because the X Fold they went to the 60 watt,
Yeah, I think it was
and
60 or 65.
it's got a 80 watt brick, so it's a
Yeah.
60 watt. You can do out of one plus 20 out of the other. So I charge my iPhone with that brick. So I charge my X Fold and my iPhone at the same time. I could
Hmm.
charge. The irony is if my iPhone's dead, which sometimes it is, especially if I'm taking videos. Let's say I'm at like 48% now. The crazy thing is, in the time that will take me to get that to 100%, I could recharge that fold twice.
Hmm.
That's the crazy thing to me. Like, I depleted it one time, and it took 39 minutes with always on display on to
Yeah.
charge from. And that's the crazy thing to me with this. I'm excited about. And for the people that don't know, because I cracked my X80
Yeah.
Pro,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
I'm actually, I think I've decided I'm just gonna hold off for
For repairing
the
it.
X90 Pro or
Okay.
whatever the next,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
they should be releasing
Yeah,
that
the
should be coming
X90
out
Pro,
soon,
yeah, should be
right?
coming out soon. Yeah,
Like
it's a 2 year. Sorry, they do it every 6 months, right?
yeah,
So,
it's like September and
mhm,
or it's like what February
mhm.
and
Yeah. So
September or
really,
something
the
like that.
decision based on what the Xiaomi brought, um, Vivo has it. Are they going to change the camera system now? Now they've got a worthy competitor. So we'll see. I'm excited for both.
But also part of me wants to be like, that Xiaomi. I see like a price adjustments. Like
Oh yeah,
I
it's
can,
dropping
I'm
because
gonna, I'm
it was a $900 phone, and now it's $1,000 premium on Giztop. So it's slowly getting back to what its normal price.
because I told the wife, I'm like, you know what? I could get it repaired, and I feel kind of bad because I got the story out there, but like the story still holds true.
Oh
Like
yeah,
they
it
were
holds
gonna
true.
repair it,
Giztop would
but
yeah they would repair it, but
I'm gonna throw a screen protector on it and just keep using it because I miss the cameras too much, and
mhm.
so there's some political stuff going on. We all know, or most of
Yeah.
us, I think, know what's going on with like Taiwan and China and
Mhm.
Japan, and I'm concerned now. Like
DHL
DHL
has been pretty good.
and like UPS and FedEx all are like, oh, it's no problem. But what my concern is sometimes that's being handed off to their local post, and their local post is blocking anything that's not considered like urgent incoming. So even if I mark it as something else,
Ooh, that's a
then
good
they're
point.
gonna double check to see like, is it really that, and it could get held off. And
Mhm.
now Giztop is like, well, one of the things they said is, well, if it gets held off here, we'll just send you a different one. But my thing is like, how long? Like, is it like it has to be held up for a month and then we'll just send you a new phone
Mm,
because it's not
mm.
your fault? Like, what's the. So
That's
at this
true. That's a
point, it's
pretty
like
good
I don't
offer
want to
for that.
spend like. And then if the phone gets there and they're
Mm.
like, oh, it's not just the glass that has to be replaced, it's gonna be more than $70. I'm looking, then closer to 300. At that point, I could pick up like some of the Redmi phones. There's actually
Oh,
I saw a phone. What was it? The one I saw? I think it was 390 on GizTop that had
are you talking about
the
Redmi
8
11T
Gen 1
Pro?
in there. It had the 8 Gen
Oh,
1
okay, yeah, okay.
and like 120 hertz and like B stuff. Like, it wasn't the best of cameras, but like at that point, I'm looking at like $100 away
Oh, I think
from
you're talking about the
literally.
Redmi K50 series or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like
Okay,
at
yeah,
that
those are
point,
good.
I'm looking
Those
at
are good.
like getting into like I could get my first like real Xiaomi device. Like I had like the A11 Lite way back in the
Mm,
day when
mm,
Amazon
mm.
was, but I didn't really consider. I got rid of it, so like I could. That's the thing. Like,
Oh, so can you put up? I'm sorry to do this, 'cause I know that, but look at Michael Corker, and
yeah,
Michael is
I
such a
see.
good addition to streams.
I see that. His comment about, let's see here real quick. Think you're overthinking it. They say they're gonna fix it. You seem to be
Yeah,
in
like
extreme
even
worst
if
case
if
scenario. It's
who
just a
cares
flip.
if yours is held up if they're sending your phone, that's on Giztop at that point.
Yeah.
They're the ones that are going to be
Uh,
waiting for a replacement.
But so right now, I just wanted to use the camera, so I'm like,
Yeah, if you
I'm
want to
just
use the
gonna use
cameras,
them.
yeah, put a screen protector
It's
on it and keep
for
it
the screen
moving.
protector. Use them.
Yeah,
Get some stuff going.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and as soon as I get the okay from because it was you, it was actually their website. It was the post surface's website that was like starting, and it was literally it was unfortunate because it was starting. What was it? The 12th or whatever. So it was literally right before it happened,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
they're like come back to. So as soon as it's okay, I wanna because
Well,
I
it's
understand like
funny
if it's
because
not they'll cover it, but like at the same time it's like I want to know like the experience of getting it back, like what's the condition
yeah,
of, and so if I can minimize that risk, that's okay
yeah,
with me.
correct.
And yeah, if something happens, I hope it's okay, but at the same time it's like if my phone's usable and I can do some more of these tests, I'm gonna do
Mm.
it, but um. And then there were some other personal financial things that came up. But I was like, you
Oh
know
yeah,
what? I'll
that's
hold off
totally
on
good.
sending out a
Totally
couple
good.
$100 in shipping right now, and then who knows how much once again. But they're cool. Like Istop was like, yeah, just take your time. Like their thing is like they have a 1 year um
Oh yeah, it's
like
ridiculous.
on damage stuff, and like if it's something that was covered under warranty, but obviously you don't have a U.S. warranty, but like they they withhold or they hold up like the 2 year warranties like that some of the
Mhm.
manufacturers do. They'll help back that. So you send it to them, and then they do the claim. So it's like they're really cool about it, and we're like, yeah, just. And my thing was like, okay, do I get some financial things taken care of, or do I.
Oh yeah, take your time. Like if you can put a screen protector on it and then get it fixed later, that's gonna be fine. That way you still are enjoying and testing out the cameras and all that stuff. And then when you decide on the next phone to get, you're like, okay, I'm used to, like, to give you an example, even just little simple things, a narrower depth of field when I'm shooting, like there's stuff that if I'm framing with another one going side by side, I don't notice it until like, I need to frame with this one and then use that one because it might come out blurry in the foreground. So little things like that, you'll get by just going out there and shooting.
And I have a couple of people that like they're like, hey, when you get that fixed up, if you want to get your hands on this device, we can swap. And I'm like,
Yeah.
like
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna do that for sure. Like, yeah, like
Mm-hmm.
then I don't have to. But then the problem is gonna be I'm gonna get my hands on it, and then there's gonna be some deal or somebody
There's gonna be
selling it, and
there's
I'm gonna be
balance.
like, okay, I'll
There's
trade you.
there's
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 gonna be
there's
something intriguing.
there's balance, right? So there's balance. I think I'm at the stage now where I have enough of the phones that I can start deciding which ones I keep, long term. And the Vivo and Xiaomi are definitely something I keep long term, and stuff that I trade in, and that way I have a budget every year. Like I'm trading in these four phones and then I'm pretty good, you know, have enough phones for content on my channel.
And I've been thinking about selling my iPhone. Yeah, it's, I got it when it first came out, but it's still got like 99% battery health. I take good care of it, and I have my Apple Watch. This is like a couple months old. I've been really contemplating getting rid of because now I'm using my camera to record most of my videos, and the only thing that was really holding me on because I don't even use iMessage, yeah, because it syncs across. But I've been using Google Chat, support in my Vivo, and then I use what do they call it now? They used to call it Messages for Web, where you can scan the QR code. So like I can type
Mhm.
messages on my MacBook and send them through the web, and they're sending from that number, which
Yeah.
like there's only a couple people that have it, but um, I don't know. I've just been really thinking about like why, what was my iPhone for? Well, it was because that was my recording and editing
Mhm.
device for a while, and like I can throw it in my pocket. But now like I got my MacBook, I got my iPad, I got things paid off,
Mhm.
like the the resale value on sell that thing, sell my watch, take that money, get that Vivo fixed.
Mhm.
Um, Man, there's been people constantly asking me about the X80 Pro, like, "Hey, have you got that fixed?" And then like,
I've had
there's
like
been
I think
people that,
about 30 people that have bought it. They've told me they bought it from watching my videos.
and it's like, so with that interest, in theory, I could get it fixed and turn around and probably sell it to somebody, you
True.
know,
Yeah.
and flip some. So I've
Mhm.
just been trying to narrow things down and get rid of some things,
Mhm.
and I got the flip and the fold coming in, but only because like a firm,
Well, that's good.
does the payments on it, and
Yeah, that's good.
otherwise, that wouldn't happen, and those were going down in value, and nobody wanted, nobody wants to buy those for what the combined total that Samsung does, and it's exciting to see where tech is going and the space where it's
Definitely.
going, and and man, when you're talking about your job, I'm like, I would be so nerded out. Like, if I worked for you doing that, you'd be like, Michael, go home.
Oh yeah,
Go home.
it's like
Like, oh
that.
my
My
God.
my mentor, he's still like he always reminds me. We were talking today, and he was like he's retired, but he's like, hey, make sure you take photos. Make sure you take photos. So he's got photos of him working on the space shuttle with our equipment, and it still kills him this day because he got separated from another one of our coworkers, and if you ever know anything about, or you ever come to Florida and you see the vehicle assembly building, it's huge. It has its own atmosphere in there. Like it's humongous where they assemble the shuttle and all that stuff and all the rockets. So they got separated, and he's like, "Man, why can't I get him on the cell phone?" Because they were like tied to the hip ever since they were tied when cell phones first were being invented. Like they've been on cell phones, these two. So he's like, why can't I get a hold of him?" And Don was actually in the actual cockpit with a couple of people from the team. And he's still mad. He goes, I got all these pictures, but this dude was actually in the cockpit. He was sitting in the. So it's fun. There's like SpaceX. I can look down from engineering and see the rockets being put together and all that stuff. So it's pretty cool. And I'm talking to engineers about all right, so what's the communication? What do we need to measure? This is how you're going to measure it and all that stuff. But at the same time, I'm seeing all this cool stuff being put together. So
My my uncle actually worked for NASA,
okay.
and he's a doctor. He got his pilot's license because in order to be up in the cockpit with an astronaut, if something goes wrong, you have to have your pilot's license as a backup. At least back then, you had your main pilot and then you had your co-pilot, and if something went wrong, and he's up there checking their vitals. So like he worked with Armstrong, and he's like reaching around and checking the vitals. If something went wrong with him, he's got to be able to take over. Um,
Well, I
he
think
he
I'll tell
applied
you
to
when
their
you finish this.
astronauts program
Mhm,
and got in, and then he decided to go be a missionary instead, and
mhm.
they've been doing that for like the last 30 years. But the insane thing to me like is like I have photos of like the people that nobody knew their names, right? It wasn't like the Buzz Aldrins or the
Oh
Neil
yeah, oh
Armstrongs. It
yeah,
was like
absolutely.
the people that, and there's even like pe- little known things of like people not, well, I know it, you know it, but like some of the people that don't realize that like other people were outside that space shuttle before Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin were,
Oh yeah.
and they were, um, you know, they weren't technically the first to touch the moon. They were the first to walk. Like, that's the cool stories to me.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I have pictures at my parents of like
I-
my
I-
uncle with these guys, and it's like, so you get to experience some of that cool stuff too. And
Yeah,
it's like,
so like some of the things that people don't realize, because everything is mission critical. That's the reason why, like, I'll laugh when people say, "Oh, well, this phone, the modem, or something like that," because I know that these companies couldn't survive, right? There's going to be things that happen, and if there's network issues and the way it's compatible with the network, right, that's going to be an issue. But like United Space Alliance, I used to teach classes there, and when I first started and I was young, they gave me a tour. So they talked, showed me all the different stages of the rocket and explained what was happening, how they use our equipment, like up close, outside the classroom setting. And there was this one particular room where I was like, "Oh, can I go in there?" Like, and they stopped me. They're like, "No, you're not allowed." And they made me read the sign. And it's basically, everybody that walks beyond this wall knows the risk. If XYZ happens, you're not getting out of this room. It's the end of life. And I was like, I remember being shocked. I was like, I said, "What's going on?" It's like there's a mix of chemicals that could change, and if it happens, it will kill everybody in there. So they just wall off the room, and the person that's in there, or people, just die. And I was like, I asked these people, I go, "Whoa, whoa, 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 this is a little," I'm like, wait a second, hold on. Like, because not all y'all are engineers and all this stuff. You are like the grunts that are putting this together. I said, and they're like, "Yeah, we sign up for it." And I go, "Yeah, but this could happen." They're like, "Yeah, we know it can happen. It's most likely not going to happen, but we know it can happen." And I'm like, wait a second. So what makes it, and most of I don't care what background these people were, they all said USA. And I was like, it was like almost like chills. Like, I was like, okay, man, these are the people that are running our space program. We're in good hands.
the harbingers of space and technology and
Correct.
everything that's and the discoveries like medicines and things like that have
Correct.
been part of the space program is incredible.
It's incredible.
So Barry Johnson, you can find him everywhere under that name. Although on Twitter you're
Yeah, I know.
like it's your name spelled out
So,
with underlines in between. But
it's
just
funny. That was trying to be incognito. Didn't know I was gonna be doing YouTube.
of course your links will be put in the
I
description
appreciate it.
down below. Everybody check him out. If you like what you see, of course subscribe and watch his stuff. And if you're new to this and you enjoyed this, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe. Also check out in the description the link to MPT Behind the Mind, where I will be re-uploading this in 24 hours. This will be privated, and then that will go up there. Thank you, Barry, for joining me,
Thanks for having
being
me.
part of the conversation.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed your time.
Yeah, it was good. Yeah, I'm
And
looking forward to seeing these on the other side, like being in the chat, watching you. So
thanks for everybody for coming by the chat. This Barry Johnson guy, this dual tasking, he has a name that sounds similar to yours. No, Savage Scientist, LFA, Michael Cochran. Oh, I missed. Mobile Geezer was in here, and I missed saying
he was,
something
yeah, he was
too.
in there. Yeah, he was in there.
LeBaron, Jay Williams, Jason C, Big John Tech, Holler at Your Boy, Ace Rocks Tech, I think Raider Tech, Tech for Your Knees, technically T,
Yep, T was in the
any
building.
Tech Living Mama, and anybody who is in the
LaShawn.
background, of course, LaShawn, the great LaShawn. Everybody, have a good night. I hope you enjoyed listening to and or watching episode 1, and I will see you all next week. Peace and love, everybody.
Peace, everybody.